Hey everyone, welcome to my channel for the love of sports. Today we'll be going over the ATP tennis predictions for the Madrid tournament. We are 21 and 19 overall since starting this channel, and we are on a 5-0 run, so let's hope to keep it going. Now we're going to recap our last couple of bets. So we'll go over the last 2 days. On April 24th, we had 3 bets. They all hit. We had Jacob Fernley moneyline versus Boo. He won in straight sets. He looked quite impressive as well. Got to mention that. The Italian Greek Sport moneyline and Fonseca moneyline. They each won quite easily, not really much of a sweat. And we had Cameron Norrie moneyline along with Nishikori moneyline. So that two-leg parlay was a sweat as each of those matches went to 3 sets. And Cameron Norrie, he was on the edge of losing that match. He brought it back. He was able to bring it back, bring it to a third set. But he did not look great. I'll say that right now. He did not look great, and gonna try to avoid him until I see a little bit more from his game. And then yesterday we took Rublev moneyline, Fritz moneyline, and Cerrone moneyline all in one play, just because the odds were kind of out of whack. Now Rublev ended up just winning that because Monfils withdrew. So we won Fritz money line and Cerrone money line. They each won in straight sets, minus 283. So didn't get much profit from that, but a win is a win. It's better than a loss. And we actually took a live play. I posted that in the post section of my channel, so make sure you're tuning into that. I took Ben Shelton money line versus Navone, and I actually, I was paying attention to this game. I didn't bet it beforehand because I wasn't quite sure how it was gonna go. And then Navone took down the first set 6-4. And I was watching the second set live, and I just felt uh, Shelton was close to breaking him. He couldn't break him. And then Navone was close to breaking Shelton. He couldn't break him. And I was like, okay, I think Shelton was showing some signs of like improvement on returning. And I was like, I think he can you know come back and win this match. And he ended up, he was down a break in the second set. He brought it back. He went to tiebreak, and he pretty much easily handled the tiebreak. I think it was 7-4. And in the third set, he was able to break Navone, and he took it down. And he was great. He really did play great. The end of that match. I mean, honestly, towards like the middle of the match to the end of the match, he was playing great. Ben Shelton was playing great. I feel like while I said he was playing great, I feel like he could have played even better. I do feel like sometimes he gets a little bit too like impatient when returning, and if he would just be a little bit more patient and use his power, I feel like he'd be even harder to beat. Um, but that being said, he did win that match, so we could be nothing but happy right now. We're up over $644 in profit, so I'm loving that right now. Let's start actually going over the bets by sport. So as you can see here, this channel's focused primarily on tennis so far. I do, want to bring in other sports little by little. But here you can see the breakdown. We're up over $600 in the tennis bets, and we have around 38 bets in terms of tennis. And those are the other bets that we have so far on the other sports. We're also, we're still profitable between NHL, MLB, and NBA. We're still profitable the net sum of that. So let's go on to the predictions. All right, so we have Shapo versus Kai Nishikori. Kai Nishikori leads 2-1 in the head-to-head. They have not played on the clay surface, and this one is a little tough to gauge. Shapo has not looked good recently. Nishikori, we did bet him as part of our bets on the 23rd. Um, Nishikori, yeah, we did bet him on that. He was Nishikori versus Vukic, Alexander Vukic, and he did take him down. It took 3 sets, but he didn't take him down. He looked, he played pretty well. Um, He's been in better, better form at least recently than Chapo, and he does lead the head-to-head. I would have to lean Nishikori, but this isn't one that I'm too confident in betting. Next, we have Demir versus Sebastian Baez. Sebastian Baez leads 3-0 in the head-to-head, and these have all been on the clay surface. And this one I feel like could be a little tricky just because this surface it kind of benefits big servers like Ben Shelton. I guess that's why I liked him yesterday. Is because of the power. You can kind of feel it on this court, the clay court. But still, I feel like Sebastian Baez on this surface is very, very difficult to beat. He lead the head-to-head 3-0. Definitely would have to lean Sebastian Baez in this matchup. Next, we have Ugo Humbert versus Alexander Mueller. Mueller leads 1-0 in the head-to-head, but this is like 2017. I mean, 8 years ago. They have not played since, so you can't really, take that with a grain of salt. Ugo Humbert, though, I can't take him until I see that hand healed. I just can't take him. He has not been playing great since that happened, and rightfully so. If you're hurt, you're not going to be playing great. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if Mueller wins this game. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ugo Humbert plays. If his hand is better, maybe he just comes out and dominates. I would not be surprised of that either. I think it just really depends on Ugo Humbert's injury level, how he's feeling with that, and how comfortable he is, and with his with his backhand. Um, I'm gonna be interested to see that match. I want to see how Ugo Humbert does in terms of using that backhand. Next, we have Echeverri versus Lorenzo Musetti. This is the first meeting. Echeverri, we've bet him and we bet against him in this channel. We've had quite, pretty good success in doing so, and I think this is one that I'm fading him in. Echeverri has not been great on the year, although this is his preferred surface. Lorenzo Musetti has been very good, very, very, very good, um, and just looking at the form, you'd have to lean Musetti, and I think this is just one that Echeverri is he's just gonna come up a bit short. I do think it'll be a close game. I don't think he'll get dominated by Musetti, but I do think Musetti will win in the end. Next we have Grigor Dimitrov versus Nicholas Jarry, 2-2 in the head-to-head, and Jarry leads 2-1 in the head-to-head in the clay surface. Um, Jarry has not been in great form. We kind of know this. He's been on and off this whole season, really. Um, Dimitrov is a player, playing better. In the last video that we really talked about him, he's playing a lot better than at the beginning of the year. He was injured and he was missing a lot of tournaments, but every tournament that he's played in, he's playing. Especially recently, he's been a lot better. This is not going, Nicholas Gianni. This is where he likes to play, though. He likes the surface, and this one could be interesting. I think the odds are kind of close for a reason. I would not touch this game. Next, we have Lorenzo Sonego versus Alex de Minaur. We kind of hinted at Lorenzo Sonego winning that last match. We kind of had an idea that could happen. Um, he was up against Kekmo, and the head-to-head was really close, and Kekmo was somehow heavily favored. So I didn't really understand that, and Lorenzo Sonego, did end up winning that match in straight sets. But in this matchup, Alex de Minaur dominates this matchup. He's 3-0 in the head-to-head, and he's looked pretty impressive. I feel like de Minaur is like he's a player that I love to bet because he's a player that will take down players like Lorenzo Sonego and players he's supposed to be, and quite usually he'll lose to the better players as well. So he's kind of like a person that's not easy to bet, but it's easy to like to bet him because of that. And I would have to lean Demon Noir in this matchup. Next we have an interesting one. We have Francis Tiafoe versus Luciano Dardari. Tiafoe beat Dardari in Houston last year in the clay surface, but that was Houston. It's going to favor the U.S. players, so it kind of makes sense why Tiafoe won that matchup. Dardari, though, Dari has been great on this surface. We were leaning him in the last video. We didn't end up making a bet towards him, but I did like him in the last video, and he did take it down um, against House, and Hallis actually has like a really good serve, so he was able to break him regardless. And I do lean Dardari here. I do think that he could take this one down against Tiafo, and that would be my lean in this matchup. Next, we have two, you know, two qualifiers basically that got in here. Um, we have Gabriel Diallo versus Camille. This is their first meeting, and Diallo actually got in here because of a withdrawal. So it was Nishioka versus Duzubergs. Nishioka withdrew, and then ended up being Bergs versus Diallo, and Diallo won that matchup. Camille won his respective matchup, and here they are. They are the lucky losers, though. They have to play each other, which sucks, for them at least. I'm sure they wouldn't want to lose to each other. They want to, play at least against another player. Um, and this one though, it's so tough. Gabriel Diallo is a big serve. I've seen a little bit more of him, so I know more about him. I couldn't lean aside because I don't know too much about Camille. Um, so I'll just leave this one alone. Next we have Stefanos Tsitsipas versus Jan-Lennard Struff. Tsitsipas leads 6-4 in the head-to-head, but they are split 2-2 in the clay surface. Um, Tsitsipas is a hard one, man. I've backed him and I've bet against him this season, and he's a tricky player, man. One game he looks amazing, and the next game he's missing a bunch of shots, and he's a little bit more inconsistent than I would like from like a top player. And Struff has just been in horrible form. Struff, he did win against Van der Sancho, but that took 3 sets, and he hasn't made it far in really any tournament this season. So I had to lean Tsitsipas here just because of he's been better this season, better form, and he does lead the head-to-head, but not at that price. I'm not taking Tsitsipas at that price, so I'm gonna pass on this game. Next, we have possibly the biggest, the biggest upset of the day. I think that Matteo Arnaldi could beat Djokovic. This is their first meeting, and Djokovic just, I don't know, man. Novak, he's just the Joker, man. He just hasn't been great recently, and he got dominated against Alejandro Tobillo again. He being a loss against him last year. He got dominated again this year, and Arnaldi is better than Tobillo. So I don't know. It really depends on Novak's level of motivation. Really, if Novak is really motivated, then he should win this matchup. If he's not so motivated and he wants to, then the next Grand Slam is coming up soon. So this is great practice for him. I would think that he would want to get far in this tournament, but it really just depends on his level of motivation. If he's motivated, I have no doubt he'll win this matchup. It's just gonna matter. This is one that I might live bet. Um, just a heads up, just because I want to see how this matchup is gonna go, and it'll be interesting to see how Novak is playing in this matchup. Because if Novak comes to play, he could win this tournament. Realistically, he could. Next, we have Jerry Lehechka versus Cameron Norrie. Cameron Norrie leads 3-1 in the head-to-head. I just, I took him the 23rd. I took him, and he almost lost against Landaluce. And Landaluce had like 12 double faults or something like that. It was a crazy number. And Cameron Norrie was struggling and struggling. He also doesn't have like a big serve, so it's hard for him on this surface, at least against like heavy hitters like Lehechka. Lehechka has a very good serve. I would have to lean Lehechka here. I think even though Lehechka hasn't been in the greatest form recently, he's shown promise this season. Cameron Norrie is kind of on and off, and I didn't like what I saw from him in that first matchup, even though he won. So I lean on Leheshka. Last but not least, we actually have quite a bit more matches. So even better, we have a couple more matches to go over. We have Matteo Berrettini versus Marcos Giron. Marcos Giron leads 2-0 in the head-to-head, but this is the clay surface, so they have not played on the clay. Berrettini super heavily favored, minus 500 here. I see why I would have to lean Berrettini, but the odds are a little bit too high for my liking. He should take this one down though. All right, have our last four matchups here. We have Talon Greek Sport Moneyline. Talon Greek Sport versus Jack Draper. Talon Greek Sport leads 1-0 in the head-to-head. They played earlier this season, actually. These are two of the most consistent players this season. Um, they've been two of the best informed players. Uh, I don't know. I wish I could give a definite answer like this is who I think is gonna win, but honestly, this could be a game that I like bet as well. Um, I'd have to see who's playing well in that first set and in that beginning or middle of that second set because I think this could go either way. Jack Draper, he has a nice serve. So does Greek Sport. Um, this could be an over in terms of games. It's just a matter of I'm not really sure how this match is gonna go. Uh, Jack Draper last time didn't play so well. Tiny Greek Sport has just been solid, solid, solid. He doesn't make it far in tournaments, like in terms of like the finals, but he's pretty consistently making it to like the semis or quarters. So interesting matchup for sure. This next one's probably the best matchup of the day. We have Joao Fonseca versus Tommy Paul. The first meeting. Tommy Paul, I love him, man. I am in the U.S., so any U.S. players, I try to bet them as I can. This is just one I can't bet. I do like Tommy Paul. I like his experience, but Joao Fonseca on this surface is dangerous, man. I bet him on the 23rd. I bet him as part of one of my best bets. I played against Elmer Mahler, qualifier, who was super hot, and he just destroyed him, man. It was just his power is insane, and he brings like a party with him. He's got a bunch of guys, a bunch of fans, um, always, and that could be intimidating as well. Whew, this is a tough one, Are you going for experience, or are you gonna trust Tommy Paul in this match, or are you gonna trust the young talent and firepower of Joao Fonseca? I have to lean Fonseca just because I saw him play in that last matchup, and I was just surprised at the level of power that he has. And he played great. He really did play great. His service quite well. Um, he's a tough matchup. And Tommy Paul, I feel like he could struggle against this type of an opponent. He's not a although he has a good serve, he's not a hard hitter per se. So this could be a bit of a challenge for him. Lean Fonseca, game of the day for sure, but I don't know if I'll bet it. And next we have Thomas Mahach versus Jacob Fernley. We bet Jacob Fernley against Boo. He took him down in straight sets. He looked quite impressive. But this is Thomas Mahach. Thomas Mahach has been great this season. Um, he's dealt with injuries here and there recently, but when he's playing at his best, man, he is tough. He is really tough to beat. He can really take down anybody any day. This is their first meeting, so we don't have any head-to-head to go from. But the one thing I like about betting Mahach is that if he does end up, losing at any point, he he'll withdraw sometimes. So if like he loses that first set, he's down, 2-0, 3-0 in the second set, he will probably retire and we will not lose our entries. So this gives me more incentive to bet Thomas Mahach in this match. And the last but not least, we have Riley Opelka versus Karen Kachanov. This is their first meeting. Two big servers, really. Karen Kachanov just has a little bit more to his game. That's why I would pick him in this matchup. He's a little bit better on that clay surface. With this court, though, it's kind of like it's like a quick court. So it's not bad for Opelka's game. He was able to take down Hijikata. That one pretty easily, straight sets. So I would lean Kachanov. Just I wouldn't be surprised if Opelka makes this a little interesting. All right, now we're gonna go over our best bets. As you see here, we just finished up the last set of matchups. So we actually have two best bets. We're gonna have two leg parlays in each one. The first two leg parlay is gonna be Alex Demon Noir moneyline versus Lorenzo Sonego and Lorenzo Massetti moneyline versus Echeverri. So as we kind of talked about, Demon Noir leads the head-to-head 3-0 to Sonego, and he's been a model of consistency. I feel like he should take this one down. He's been pretty good on the clay this year as well, so I trust him to win that game. And Mossetti has been in great form. Echeverri has not been great this season, and I do think that Mossetti wins that match. Excuse me. All right, and then the next best bet we have Thomas Mahach moneyline and Sebastian Baez moneyline. So we're trusting Sebastian Baez, even though Demir has a big serve. Sebastian Baez does do 3-0 in that clay, and we're hoping to make it 4-0 in that clay. And Thomas Mahach against Jacob Fernley. We kind of talked on this, thinking that Mahach is just a superior player. And if at any point he's losing too bad, he will retire more often than not. So he is a player that we enjoy to back. So those are our two best bets. Make sure you are following the channel though. Subscribe to the channel so you can see any posts that I make because I do add live plays as you can see on my betting spreadsheet. Thank you guys. Like and subscribe. Let me know what you're tailing or any other plays that you might have. Have a good one.